Howdy folks, welcome back to the channel. So we're back for war number 4 of this season. We haven't gotten off to the best start this season. We've lost a couple of wars, only won one, and we're down in tier 3. So we really want to pick it back up. We need to get back into tier 2 to get that higher multiplier, and then we need to get some more wins in order to get back up into plat 2, which is really where we want to finish the season. So we're going to be on path 4 again this war. Let me just restart this this path scoping. So the first fight is this CGR. It's an interesting placement. We'll talk more about that in a bit, but you can see here it's an R5 Ascended SIG 200 CGR on that first node. Second fight will be against Scorpion. He shows up fairly often on this path. Not really much to say about him. It's only an R4 Scorpion. As far as the second half of the path is concerned, we have a couple of interesting placements here. So there's first a White Tiger. You don't really think of as a defender. There are some tricks to her that we'll talk about, but yeah, she's usually an attacker, so kind of surprised to see her there. And then we have a Rintra, who certainly, I guess, was a notoriously hard defender when he first came out, but he's fallen off quite a bit, as well as he doesn't really have that much that interacts with this node in particular, so another one that I'm kind of surprised to see, and again, non-tactic. As far as the minis, I saw an opportunity to use one of the free spots in my team to bring in a tech attacker who would be able to take out 2 of these minis. So the first is this Kitty Pryde, who's on that Prowess Unblockable node. It's an R5 Ascended Kitty Pryde. And the second fight is against this Weapon X on the Reinvigorated Unblockable node. So I will be using the same attacker for both of those fights. So let's move on to the first fight. And so again, this is node 4, the first fight on path 4, and it's a Cosmic Ghost Rider, R5 Ascended SIG 200. He is tactic. Someone that, if you're not really a war player, you may not think of him as a tough defender. However, pretty much any tactic defender in this meta is going to have some difficulty. But there's additional aspect to Cosmic Ghost Rider on this node. And some of you may be familiar with this, even if you're not war players. If you have encountered Cosmic Ghost Rider in the current Battleground season, you know that because he gets a free fury from the node, that makes him a little bit more dangerous. And the reason why is that anytime that he procs a fury, it gives him a judgment. And so there's a number of other judgments that he's just going to get by virtue of the fight just proceeding, right? He gets a judgment every time you hit him, or every time he activates a special. For a particular special, he gets an additional effect. So the Fury gives him 4 judgments that he's going to get essentially for free over the course of the fight fairly quickly. And so if he reaches 5 judgments, he's going to proc Damnation as an awakened Cosmic Ghost Rider. And with the Furies from the node, with the fact that he is SIG 200 and R5 Ascended, that Damnation is going to hurt quite a bit. I didn't do the math to see exactly how much it would take off, but I think it would be fairly significant. So I was really scratching my head a bit to think of the right counter here. Was thinking first about Kushala, who might have also come in handy for some later fights, but just didn't like the fact that she wasn't going to be able to inflict Incinerate on him. He's not going to really have a lot of buffs naturally to attack with that Soul Barb. So I was looking at my other tactic attackers, and the best answer I came up with was Domino. And Domino, obviously, you'd like to have her against a defender that can bleed, because she can get some good damage there if you get lucky with proccing a crit bleed. CGR is bleed immune, but I figured, you know what, she has enough horsepower that hopefully she can make this a quick fight if luck is on my side. So in order to avoid him going to 5 judgments, the way that he can get that 5th judgment is either he throws a heavy or he dexes an attack, right? Not much I can do about trying to make sure that he doesn't dex. So really I just want to make sure that I avoid triggering that heavy, right? Obviously he can, the AI being what it is, he could choose to throw a heavy at any time, but I just want to make sure that I'm not holding block, right? Or that I have a blocked hit that is not a parry. So I want to get those clean parries to try and avoid the heavy. I want to build up those prowesses and throw a big L2 or 2 in order to make it a quick fight and just get out of there. So let's see how this works out in practice. So he throws a heavy right away. My first block, you could see, was not a parry. So I know that as soon as he throws his special, it's going to proc Damnation. You can see just how much damage that does. So I'm freaking out a bit. I think this is one of my biggest weaknesses as a player, is that if I get off script, I really don't recover well immediately, usually. So I threw that L2 not even realizing that he was indestructible, so it did nothing. And I thought, oh, well, I saw those indestructibles. You know, let me go ahead and just block, even if it's a special, let me just do a parry so I can start clearing out some of those indestructibles. Of course, you know, his L1 is unblockable, so trying to block it was a poor idea. So that was it, right? You saw how quickly I just went down without even really taking much off of him. That's how quick this can go if you get that damnation on you and you start panicking. So that was pretty dispiriting, a bad start to the war. You know, I just decided it's not a bad plan. I just have to stick to the plan. So let me just heal up Domino and go right back in. So the second attempt does go better. So there I do get the parry, back off a bit. I want to build up some more parries. I'm not sure if that's the best idea because, you know, that's just more opportunities for, you know, a missed parry and then him possibly throwing a heavy. But it works out here. I'm able to throw a good L2. Doesn't really do that much damage. Have some bad crit luck, but I keep on parrying to build up the prowesses. This time I do dodge, and I have enough prowesses built up that he's still not indestructible. So now I'm building back up to my second L2. And I decided to back off there for whatever reason. And so I throw it again. It still doesn't do that much. He's halfway down, but I was expecting more. So I'm again, you know, feeling a little bit uncertain of myself at this point. Now he's gotten indestructible. So fortunately, he gives me a quick opportunity to parry that and get rid of it. I do want to get this striker in action, so then he'll boost up my L2. Do I throw it right away? I do decide to just go for it. So he's now at 2 bars, which I don't really want, but I'm also not that scared about it. I can dex the L2. So I'm trying, obviously, to avoid him going to L3. Here I get some finally good crit luck, and I'm unable to finish him. So not an especially clean cleanup, but it did the job, right? So just that first attempt, even after getting the damnation, it was salvageable still. But really, I have to be able to just, and maybe I should start just actually pausing the fight when something significant like that happens, just to give myself a chance to kind of cool down and just say, okay, you know what, it's salvageable, just get back on script and you can do this. So, yeah, another lesson to learn for next time. But we're starting this war off with a death, so that makes, I've died in every single war so far this season. I really want to get through one war without a death, but this one's not going to be it. But put that out of mind. On to fight number 2. Again, it's going to be against the Scorpion. Feeling a lot more certain about this Scorpion because, one, I've faced him a few times already, combination of off-season and this season, as well as this is only an R4. So I'm really not worried about this one at all. And so I decided with all the Mystic attackers on my lane, as well as wanting a poison immune for Scorpion, that I was going to bring in Hulk for this war, and he was just going to do every fight after that Cosmic Ghost Rider. So the plan is fairly simple, right? The only thing that really can trip me up is if I trigger Scorpion Sense and he evades on me, but otherwise, just Hulk is going to smash his way to victory fairly easily. I have very high confidence in this fight. So let's see how it plays out. I'm able to get that initial parry and start doing some heavy damage on him. He actually, I guess I was expecting that first block to be a parry and it wasn't, and so ended up just letting him hit me a few times, but that's okay. I'm going to build up to, you know, Rage Mode. He does actually go Scorpion Sense, but doesn't punish me too much. So now I have some free hits. I'm going to go and get the 15 Gamma. Have 15 Gamma here. I'm going to bait out this L2. Fortunately, he throws it right away. I'm going to immediately throw the L3. Don't get the full bonus, but it's fine. So if this doesn't kill, I'll be able to kill him fairly quickly afterwards. So he's at 6%. I'm sure it's just like 1 or 2 hits. That will, yep, 1 hit, and he's done. So certainly not a beauty of a fight, but I knew that I had some leeway there to play a little bit sloppy and still get out of that fight. Okay, so first half done. Let's go on to the second half of Path 4. again, we have this white tiger, who I haven't really played against her that much, other than just encountering her in the EQ. I know her special animations could be a little bit weird, so I practiced those a bit and got the hang of them fairly quickly. So again, like I said, the plan is really just to come in with Hulk again. The one tricky thing about White Tiger is that I think it's 15% health. When she gets down to 15% health, she's going to proc a pretty big power gain. I think it's actually 3 bars of power that she can gain, right? So if you proc that power gain and she doesn't actually throw a special right away, then you're going to get Elk Reed. And her being R5 Ascended, even though I have a 7-star rank 3 Hulk, I don't know how much damage that's going to do. It could be significant. So I want to avoid that if possible. So bait the L1s to keep her power kind of low. I can deal with either special, but let's try to keep her power down to a minimum. And the key is, and it should marry well with Hulk's playstyle, right? Is that hopefully she has more than 15% health, but not too much more by the time I'm in Gamma Rage. And then a big special should be able to finish her. So that's the theory. Let's see again how that plays out in practice. So we go ahead and just start attacking. She has that, I think it's a fear passive on me, which isn't really going to have any real effect. I am able to easily block and counter that L1. She also does go, you saw that unblockable, so she can go unblockable here and there, but again, I'm not that concerned about that. So is going fine so far. She's already down to almost half health, and I'm close to 15 gamma already, right? It's going to a few more hits, hopefully, and I'll be at that 15 gamma. So here I do it, and I decide to go for it, and fortunately it does crit. Even if it hadn't crit, it probably would have... either it would have killed her, or it probably would have been close to death, right? So maybe she would have procced that power gain, but I think it would have been fine either way. It was a risk worth taking. So, to finish off the path, we have this Rintrah. Again, I'm not really too concerned with him as a defender. The main thing about Rintrah is that you want to make sure his charges, I forget exactly what they're called, but you don't want them to get over 10, because then he's going to start putting ruptures on you. And that's where there can be some interaction with the node, right? Those ruptures can make him unblockable. But as long as I, know that going in and just have a strategy to deal with that, it's really not going to be an issue. So initially I had, when I was planning out my attack team, I was thinking I was going to use Hulk for this fight. And then as I was entering this fight, I called an audible and just said, you know what, having to knock him down as often as I will, it doesn't really marry that well with Hulk's playstyle, so let me actually just use Domino here. I already healed her up for the CGR fight, and I didn't lose much health. So, she should have more than enough horsepower to be able to take out this Rintrah. So, all I want to do is, in order to manage those charges, do a regular medium, light, 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 medium combo, and then for my next attack, just do a heavy. Just keep on alternating, and that should keep his charges down to a minimum. And then, of course, Domino, just throw L2s to get that kill as quickly as you can. So, not really anticipating much of a challenge here. So I go for that first full combo, and I'm going to do a medium. And so he's back down to 2 charges, right? Periodically, I don't know if you can just alternate. You'll have to probably do 2 heavies in a row at certain points. So I'll do another full combo, knock him down. He's at 3. I'll probably go for another heavy. Yes, I do. So now he's down to 0. I'll bait this out and probably go for my L2. So he's being a little bit tight with his special, but he finally does throw it. And so I throw my special. And it knocks him down, so he's back down to 5. I do get a big bleed off of that, so he's going to be pretty close to death by the time this is over. Yeah, so he's down to 20% health by the time that bleed stops ticking. I have plenty of charges to play with, and I go ahead and fire this, and he's essentially dead. I just finish off with the striker. It's a very easy fight. I'm still feeling a little bit miffed about that first fight, and having a death where, I knew exactly what might happen and I couldn't avoid it and just got kind of panicked. But got to put those things out of mind. So I did finish off the path strong, and so on to these mini boss fights. The first of which being this Kitty Pride on the Prowess build up unblockable. So it is a common placement that you see, because Kitty does build up those prowesses very easily. And an unblockable Kitty Pride, it's pretty hard to full dex her L1, so you're going to take some damage probably if she goes unblockable and throws that. But as I mentioned earlier, my plan was that I was going to bring an attacker specifically for this Kitty fight and for the one following it, right? And that attacker is going to be Omega Sentinel. So Omega Sentinel, she doesn't have a direct prowess removal ability, but she can inflict cowardice. And Kitty Pride, anytime that she's inflicted with cowardice, she's going to lose all her prowess. So that's going to make this a pretty straightforward fight, as long as I can keep on applying that cowardice to Kitty. Right, so I'm going to start in that mode, which is her default mode, but the key is I don't want to switch over to any of my other debuffs. I want to stay in cowardice the whole fight. So in order to do that, I'm going to do medium ending combos in order to place a cowardice, and I'm going to alternate with light ending combos in order to pause that cowardice, right? So by pausing the cowardice, that means I'll be able to build up cowardice debuffs, which will eventually allow me to start placing plasmas on her, which should do some good damage work. And bait the L1s. It's not really that important, but just because there is... Actually, the power snack is not relevant here because Omega Sentinel is nullify immune, another reason why she is a strong counter for this node, right? But anyway, I just wanted to not bother with the L2s. Not that important an aspect of the fight. Okay, so I'm feeling like this is a pretty sound game plan. It's not just a sound game plan, but it's also an easy game plan to execute. So for a low skill player like me, easy is exciting, I guess, right? So I'm gonna bait out this L1. She finally does throw it. I decide not to counter it. She has kind of a tight window after her specials to punish, so I think that's one thing I didn't mention in the game plan, is that unless I felt like I was really close, well, I decided to do it there, but just to be a little bit cautious about punishing her special, because I really don't need to. You can see she's already down to 60% health. I'm going to start placing plasmas pretty soon. There we go. And so she's going to start ticking down pretty quickly at this point. 1800 per tick of that plasma. So let's get some more pauses going. I think I took a power sting. I didn't even realize it at the time. That's where most of my health went. But if I had to do it over again, I'd probably do the same. Just forget about the power sting damage. It's not going to come anywhere close to killing me. And so it's barely a minute into the fight, and Kitty Pride is already done. So you can see how easy it was, right? If I was a higher skilled player, I would have avoided those power stings, and it would have been a 100% full yellow bar finish. But in any case, so I have to use a potion or two to heal up before we go on to this final fight, which is Weapon X. So he is on the Reinvigorate Unblockable node, which means that every number of regions that he procs, he is going to go unblockable. Burden of Might means that if you have any buffs on you, you're going to have a lower combat power rate, and you're also going to get power drained when they expire. And then you have this high energy diet. So anybody doing mostly energy-based attacks is not going to be effective against him. But you know the game at this point, right? I said I was using the same attacker for both of these first two fights. So Omega Sentinel is a strong counter for Kitty, and she's also a strong counter for Weapon X, right? Because the only way Weapon X can really hurt you is when he's in that unblockable, unstoppable phase. He can do quite a bit of damage, and he can put some pretty big bleeds on you. But one, Omega Sentinel has a pseudo immunity against bleed. Two, actually, the most important point is that it's very easy for her to keep the opponent heal blocked throughout a fight. And then I guess that's really the two big points, right? So you can see the fairly simple game plan here again, which is use the heal block pre-fight, stay in that mode for the entire fight, and it's the same exact means of keeping up that debuff as we used in the Kitty Pride fight, which is alternate between medium and light ending combos. So again, a pretty conceptually easy fight. Because it is Weapon X, not quite as confident as I was against Kitty. Things can always go awry with Weapon X because usually you're expecting his AI to be very highly predictable, and it's not always, right? Sometimes he does go off script himself. But let's see how this goes. We start with that heal block, and now we're going to go ahead and pause it. And now we have to watch out for his stacks here, right? Once he hits 25, I think, he's going to enter his unblockable unstoppable. So I'm going to let him throw this special. He does. Wait out that unstoppable. And now it's a matter of, as long as I stay fairly close to him and hold block, I can get out of the way if he charges, but I also will have a high chance of drawing out a heavy from him. And so you can see that it worked just there, just a second ago. Let's see if it works again. Yep. That's a pretty reliable tactic to use against Weapon X. So he's already close to halfway down. He's out of that first cycle of whatever, enrage, whatever it's called, right? But so I'm just trying to maintain the same pace of the fight. I know that my plasmas aren't really going to do anything, so I'm not so concerned about trying to get plasmas stacked up on him. I really just want to get him heal blocked and do most of my damage with regular attacks, which for the most part, I think Omega Sentinel has one attack, like her ending light or medium, I think, is an energy-based attack, but the rest are physical. So I did get tagged there a little bit, but again, with the pseudo bleed immunity, it really wasn't a big deal. So he's back in that second cycle of enrage, but he's already pretty well down on health. And I'm sensing blood. I can just go ahead and finish it here. Just a few more hits. One more hit, I think. Yep. So again, a very easy fight. A little bit longer than the Kitty Pryde fight, but still a successful one. So 4-path fights, died on one of them. Usually I died to a mini-boss fight, but this time around I was clean on the mini-boss fights, but I died on a path fight. So yet another one-death war. Not great. As far as how this war ended up for us, unfortunately, it was a defeat, and this one kind of stung a bit. So you can see on this chart, right, that the number of defender kills, well, we swamped them. We killed them 177 times, and they only killed us 101 times. But the reason why they still won is that the vast majority of those kills that we made were deaths that didn't count. Only the first 3 deaths on a node count towards the score. And so we did badly pretty early on, and they were doing well. So even by the time they got to our mini bosses and the harder fights, I think they had already done the math that they could blow almost every single attack bonus and still come away with the victory. So they just revive spam their way through it. So that was unfortunate. My battle group did pretty well this war. I think we finished with something like 11 deaths. Which in this meta, at least this early on in the meta, has been pretty good, right? If all battle groups were getting 11 deaths every war, we'd be winning every single war. But yeah, we only died 11 times, but the other battle groups, it's no shade for them, right? It's just what happened this particular war is that they had some tough fights, so they died something like 60, 70 times between them, which we really have to just clean that up. There's no way that we can have battle groups giving up 30, 40 deaths and still be competitive. So it's another loss. Unfortunately, that's going to shove us down further into tier 3. So yeah, not feeling great about this season so far, but there's still plenty of time. We're not even halfway through the season yet. So hopefully we can string some wins together. I was hoping, and it still could happen, right, that given the at least initial very overwhelmingly negative response to this meta, I thought we were going to run into some alliances who were just not even taking it seriously and were just going to do 1 loyalty revives for every single fight. But we haven't encountered that yet, right? So maybe we do get lucky later on in the season and get some free wins that way. But yeah, we're going to have to finish with a pretty high win percentage in order to get into Plat 2 by the end of the season. It is still doable. We'll see if we can manage it. That's going to do it for today. Hope you enjoyed this video. As always, if there's anything that you noticed that you think I could use some feedback on, please do let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed anything that you saw, please do like and subscribe, right? I'm trying to build up my subscriber base. Would love to see it get over 100 by the end of April. So Yeah, if you like this, please do share with your friends, share with your alliance, give me a sub, all that good stuff. Have a good day. See you for War 5.